I come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog's a bitch-ass motherfucker.
Greetings everyone old and new, welcome to Haseo Reviews and welcome to the 3D Sonic Marathon! It's been 20 years since Sonic officially broke through to the third dimension, and since I already covered Sonic Adventure earlier this year, I'll be covering every 3D Sonic game from Sonic Adventure 2 through Sonic 06, commonly referred to as the Adventure Era by fans. We'll be covering a real wild period in Sonic's history marked by experimentation, multi-platform releases, varying critical reception, and a shift in story tone, all culminating in one of the most infamous debacles in video game history, creating a stigma that the series is still trying to shake off. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's cover the sequel to Sonic's first 3D adventure, aptly named Sonic Adventure 2. Since there's multiple versions of this game with their own differences in content and quality, I held a poll on Twitter to decide what version to cover, and the GameCube version was the winner by a large margin. However, since I was running the game off an SD Gecko using Swiss due to my physical copy not working anymore, thank you Disk Rot, the CG FMV sequences ran unusably poorly, so I'll be splicing in footage from the original Dreamcast version for any instances that those pop up. Okay, I think that covers everything, so let's delve into the story. Once again, we have two campaigns followed by a final story here, but there isn't much deviation in how events are presented this time, so I'll do my best to cover it all in order. Dr. Eggman breaks into a top-secret military base after finding his grandfather, Professor Gerald Robotnik's diary, which mentioned a weapon that he worked on that could help him rule the world. After reaching the center of the base, he releases the weapon, revealed to be a new character named Shadow the Hedgehog, the world's ultimate life form. Shadow dispatches a guard robot and then tells Eggman to meet him at the Space Colony Ark, the research station that Professor Gerald worked on. We then cut to a desert scene where fellow newcomer Rouge the Bat is attempting to steal the Master Emerald from Knuckles, but Eggman intervenes, attempting to steal it himself. Knuckles shatters the Master Emerald to prevent Eggman from stealing it. After Eggman reaches his base in the desert, he sees a news report about Shadow stealing a Chaos Emerald, with the news anchor mistaking him for Sonic. Meanwhile, Sonic has been arrested for Shadow's crime, and breaks free from the transport helicopter he was held in. After defeating a mech sent to capture him, he encounters Shadow, who displays his unique Chaos Control ability that allows him to harness the power of the Chaos Emerald to slow down time around him, and lots of other things that vary as the plot demands. Chaos Control is basically the sonic screwdriver of the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Sonic is then arrested again. Eggman reaches the Ark's control room, and Shadow introduces him to Professor Gerald's ultimate weapon, the Eclipse Cannon, a laser with the power to destroy an entire planet. However, it requires all 7 Chaos Emeralds to fully power it. Before Eggman and Shadow can set off to gather them, they're interrupted by Rouge, who tailed Eggman to the Ark. She claims to know the location of several Chaos Emeralds, and Eggman reluctantly allows her to join. Eggman, Rouge, and Shadow begin their assault on Prison Island to claim the 3 Chaos Emeralds that the military is keeping, when Amy suddenly shows up and hugs Shadow, mistaking him for Sonic. How? Eggman chases after her, but Tails shows up in the nick of time to save her, before going on to infiltrate the base while Amy breaks Sonic out. Rouge steals the Chaos Emeralds, but ends up locked inside a vault, with only a few minutes left on the bomb set to destroy the island. Shadow heads to save her, battle Sonic, and both teams manage to narrowly escape before the island is destroyed. Back on the Ark, Eggman gives a demonstration of the Eclipse Cannon's power, broadcast across the world by blowing up half the moon. Sonic and company, seeing Eggman's demonstration, devise a plan to stop him before he can use the Eclipse Cannon to take over the world by using the Chaos Emerald Tails was awarded for saving Station Square back in Sonic Adventure 1 to locate the other emeralds. Meanwhile, back on the Ark, Eggman finds out that Tails has the final emerald and sends Rouge and Shadow to chase him, but they fail to catch him. Tails and Sonic track down the president of the United Federation in his limo, interrupting his conversation with Eggman and chasing the broadcast signal back to the Ark. Needing a way to get to space, Sonic and friends head to Eggman's desert base, where they manage to defeat Eggman's Egg Golem guard and catch a space shuttle headed directly to the Ark. Unfortunately for Knuckles, all of his Master Emerald shards are ejected into space, causing him to try to commandeer the shuttle and nearly crash it. Meanwhile, Rouge searches through the Ark's files on Project Shadow, but is alerted that there are Master Emerald shards nearby and sets out to gather them. Knuckles and Rouge fight, and in the ensuing scuffle, Rouge nearly falls to her death. Knuckles manages to save her, and in a total tsundere moment, she gives him the Master Emerald shards she collected, allowing him to finally reassemble it before they go their separate ways. Back on board the Ark, Tails reveals his plan to Sonic and Amy. He's created a fake Chaos Emerald that, when inserted into the Eclipse Cannon, will do some techno-babble stuff and cause it to self-destruct, foiling Eggman's plot. However, Eggman is already one step ahead, having detected two of the same emerald on his radar. Amy gets lost while Sonic and Tails go to disable the cannon, allowing Eggman to hold her hostage. Sonic and Tails rush to her rescue, and Eggman gives his terms for Amy's release. Place the Chaos Emerald on the floor and he'll let her go. What could possibly go wrong? Oh god, I'm channeling the spirit of Bubsy. It turns out the whole thing was a trap, and Eggman traps Sonic in an escape pod that will detonate when it clears the colony. He ejects the pod and Sonic seemingly dies. Enraged by the apparent death of his best friend, Tails battles Eggman. Back in the capsule, Sonic manages to use his protagonist powers and plot armor to harness the fake Chaos Emerald's energy to perform chaos control and escape mere moments before the pod explodes. Rouge attempts to steal the Chaos Emeralds for herself, but Shadow catches her, revealing that he knows she's secretly a government spy. She shows him her findings about Project Shadow, which shows a completely different creature than the black and red hedgehog we've been with all this time, hinting that his memories may be fake. Sonic heads back to the Eclipse Cannon so he could stop Eggman once and for all, but encounters Shadow, having one last showdown with him. Sonic manages to reach the cannon and disable it before it can fire, but Eggman has already placed the final Chaos Emerald into the cannon. However, a warning message suddenly appears on his monitor. Eggman wonders why the Eclipse Cannon has failed to fire when something surprising suddenly appears on his monitor. In the Ark's deck, Rouge informs Sonic and Knuckles that the colony is on a collision course with Earth, and at the rate it's falling, will cause devastating damage once it makes impact. Just then, a video recording of Professor Gerald's final speech before his execution is broadcast across the world, where he condemns humanity to death. Eggman appears and gives Rouge the disc containing his grandfather, Professor Gerald Robotnik's diary, which she proceeds to read, chronicling his descent into insanity after a military raid on the Ark resulted in the deaths of those on board, including his beloved granddaughter Maria. Seeking revenge on all of humanity for the loss he endured, he created Shadow and prepared the colony drop protocol to destroy Earth entirely. Eggman says that in order to stop the colony from impacting with Earth, everyone will have to team up and travel to the Eclipse Cannon's core, where the Chaos Emeralds have been moved to, and use the Master Emerald to neutralize their power. Meanwhile, Shadow is brooding alone, having completed the mission that Professor Gerald gave him. Amy stumbles across him and gives him a pep talk about how, even though humans may fight over trivial things, they shouldn't be hated for it. This triggers his true memories of Maria's final wish to him, for him to protect humanity rather than hold a grudge against them. Having a change of heart, Shadow heads for the core. Once Sonic and Knuckles reach the core of the Eclipse Cannon, they encounter the prototype of Project Shadow, the Bio-Lizard. Shadow shows up in the nick of time to hold it off while Sonic and Knuckles stop the Chaos Emeralds. However, the Bio-Lizard uses Chaos Control to merge with the Ark and keep it on its collision course. In a last-ditch effort to save the world, Sonic and Shadow become Super Sonic and Super Shadow and battle the Bio-Lizard one last time. With mere seconds to spare, Sonic and Shadow use their combined Chaos Control to return the Ark to its original place in orbit, averting catastrophe. However, Shadow's super form runs out, and he falls to Earth, presumably dying after having been redeemed. Back on board the Ark, everyone reminisces on the events that just happened, and mourn the sacrifice of Shadow, who totally really died to save mankind and is definitely never coming back in future games. Sonic Adventure 2's plot is darker than any Sonic plot we've seen so far, what with themes of death, revenge, and Armageddon being present throughout. Due to only being split into 2 scenarios rather than 6, it's also far more coherent and easy to follow, with few if any contradictions between the 2 sides of the story. There's some elements that I wish had been explored more in depth, like how close Shadow and Maria were, and what Professor Gerald was like before he went insane. And some major plot details were only covered in supplementary material, like how Professor Gerald managed to set up his whole Doomsday plot before his execution, which, unless you looked it up, would come across as a major plot hole. The newcomers Shadow and Rouge are both entertaining additions to the Sonic cast, with Shadow serving as a perfect rival to Sonic, and Rouge being smart enough to manipulate Dr. Eggman to some extent. The presentation has seen a major upgrade from Sonic Adventure 1, with proper body and facial animations for each character, better looking models, and more expressive faces. The voice acting has improved as well for the most part, with Ryan Drummond really nailing that cocky attitude that Sonic is known for, Scott Dreyer as the new voice of Knuckles delivering what, in my opinion, is the most fitting performance the character has ever had, Lonnie Manella sounding appropriately seductive and playful as Rouge, Dean Bristow really being allowed to show off his acting chops as Eggman in his monologues and more subdued performance, and David Humphrey stealing the show as Shadow. There are a few low points in the cast, namely Connor Bringus as Tails, who sounds really stilted and awkward, but I won't hold it against him because he was just a kid at the time. Sound mixing is a, pardon the pun, mixed bag, with some sound effects and music drowning out the dialogue, and due to a messy script translation and the cutscenes being animated to match the Japanese dialogue, characters often interrupt each other and even themselves, leading to some meme-worthy scenes. The music is far less varied than what we had in Sonic Adventure 1, with instrumentation and genre varying based on the current character, rather than trying to fit the atmosphere of the stage. Sonic's stages are upbeat rock songs, Shadow has a more heavy hard rock sound, Rouge's stage themes are jazzy and sound like they belong in a spy movie, Knuckles has his infamous rap songs, etc. The songs themselves are fantastic, but there's a sore lack of variety in what instruments are used, with most stage themes using some variation of electric guitar. The gameplay has been trimmed down from 6 different styles to 3, hub worlds have been removed, and the character you play as changes with each stage. Sonic and Shadow play like Sonic stages in Sonic Adventure, but with more of an emphasis on speed and spectacle. The homing attack has been refined to allow for faster chains of attacks, and the new somersault move has been added that can be used as an attack, can break open crates, or allow you to slide under small gaps. Tails and Eggman use a variation on Gamma's shooter gameplay, but with the time limit removed and the goal simply being to reach the end of the stage. They're also given a life meter that can be refilled by collecting rings or picking up medpack power-ups. Finally, Knuckles and Rouge have treasure hunting stages, but the levels are much larger than what was seen in Sonic Adventure, and instead of having to call point you in the direction of an emerald, we now have floating monitors that give up to 3 hints on its location. The Emerald Radar has also been changed for the worse in my opinion, with it now only detecting emeralds in a specific order rather than whatever happens to be closest. This means that stages can go on for painfully long times compared to how they were handled in the last game. Overall, unlike Sonic Adventure 1, I enjoy all 3 major gameplay styles here enough to want to replay all of them, even if the treasure hunting stages can be a bit of a pain. Time for the verdict, ladies and gents! Wow, it's been a while since I've said that. Sonic Adventure 2 takes what Sonic Adventure did right, trims the fat, refines what was there, and ups the presentation levels. The story is entertaining, the new characters are a welcome addition, and the soundtrack, while not as varied as Sonic Adventures, is still fun to rock out to. Overall, I'd say this is a good starting point for newcomers to the Sonic franchise that still holds up well today. That concludes the first part of the 3D Sonic Marathon. Tune in next time for Sonic Heroes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.